My brothers and sisters, what is going on? Still sermon in the house. Sunday night, just got done watching that Titans-Chiefs game. And I'm just going to come on here and talk about the Steelers real quick. Technically, our bye week is over. So I just want to come on here and just say a couple things. And like I always say, if you're interested in the channel, do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. Links are posted in the box below. I've seen a lot of comments from people, not just on YouTube, but all over social media. And some of them have even asked me, are the Steelers going to tank for the rest of the season because we're 2-6, we're not playing well, we're last place in the division. Oh, Steel Sermon, I think the Steelers should tank so we can get a higher draft pick and so that way this rebuild can go quicker. I'm not really a big fan of tanking personally because I just think it's a flawed logic and it's just a flawed way of building up your team. And it leads me into saying that I don't think the Steelers are going to be tanking for the rest of the season, and I really don't think that they should. And I have two big reasons why that I personally don't believe this team's going to tank. The first one, in all fairness, and I swear I'm trying to be as fair as I can when I make this point right here. The first reason, coming into this season, this team statistically had the hardest schedule in the league. You start the season off in Cincinnati, the defending AFC champions. Then you come home for your home opener to play the Patriots. Bill Belichick's had this franchise's number for years now. Then you have a short week going to Cleveland. That's not easy. You return home to play the Jets. I mean, the Jets were 1-2 at the time, but the Jets are playing incredibly well right now. They're 6-3 on the year. Then you go to Buffalo to play perhaps the best team in the league in the Buffalo Bills. We all know how that one went. Return home to play the Tampa Bay Bucks. Again, same story with New England. Tom Brady's owned us for his whole career. Then a Sunday night game against a Miami Dolphins team. Then you go to Philly. I mean, no one envisioned the Eagles to be undefeated at this juncture of the season. No one envisioned that. Could they have said, yeah, the Eagles will be a good team this year? Absolutely. I was one of those people. I said Philly was going to win the NFC East before the season began. Never envisioned they'd be undefeated. And now you have your bye week. And then you take a look at the schedule, and then you see teams like New Orleans coming up. Then you see teams like Carolina coming up. Teams like Atlanta coming up. And then, yeah, you got to play... You still got to play your division 4 more times. And those are real tough games as well. But when you take a look at a team like Indianapolis and then Las Vegas, who ironically play each other in Week 10, there's reason to believe that this team can scrounge up a couple more wins on the schedule. And I'm not talking about, yeah, we're going to win out. We're absolutely not going to win out. I can tell you that right now. But I'm talking about we can beat the Colts when they're starting Sam Ehlinger. I mean, we always gave the Colts problems even when Peyton Manning was there. We never lost to Andrew Luck. Vegas has been a thorn in our side for decades now, but they're a very beatable team. New Orleans, they're not so great. That's a winnable game. Atlanta's hanging around in the NFC South, but the Falcons really aren't good. Carolina's going through a fire sale. You figure that we can at least split with Baltimore. That's usually how it is between the two franchises. And the fact that we've beaten the Ravens the last 4 games. We've already beaten Cincinnati. Not saying we're going to sweep them, but we've already beaten them in their place. And then we close out the year playing the Cleveland Browns. There's a lot of reason to believe that this team can scrounge up a couple of wins on this schedule because we're not playing any powerhouses the rest of the way. As a matter of fact, I think the toughest opponent statistically, the toughest opponent left on our schedule are the Baltimore Ravens. And even then, it's not like they're impossible to beat. Because how many leads have they blown this year? So yeah, I mean, it just seems like the second half this year, it feels a lot more, let's say, winnable than in the first half where the hardest part of your schedule's played. Now, granted, our record could be a ton better than what it is. But just like Bill Parcells used to say, you are what your record says that you are. But I personally believe that with the second half schedule coming out, this team can start pulling off a couple of W's. And it starts with week 10 when we gotta come back home to play the New Orleans Saints. Why is that, you might say? The second biggest reason. TJ Watt has a really good chance of coming back for week 10 against the Saints. Now, don't get this misconstrued. I'm not sitting down here and saying, oh yeah, TJ Watt's going to come in and that'll be the complete difference maker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to win every game on the schedule now. Guys, our problems this year run a lot deeper than TJ Watt's injury. Now, putting TJ Watt in the equation for this team, yes, it gives us a better percent chance at winning. That's a fact. But what I'm saying is that our problems run deeper than that. Is Larry Ogunjobi going to be healthy? Is the secondary going to be able to cover? Are we going to be able to generate a pass rush? Can we live with TJ Watt looking rusty for, a game or two? Matt Canada's still the offensive coordinator. We all know how bad the play calling is. Can Kenny Pickett learn from some rookie mistakes that he made in the first half of the season and iron out those flaws? Can Najee Harris finally start to up his game a little bit? Can these receivers start hanging on to catches? When I look at the point I'm trying to make is that the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, to me, it doesn't seem like a team that should be tanking. It's a team that should be going out there and remaining competitive. Like I said last week in my post game with the Eagle game, you take a look at teams like Jacksonville. They were down 17-0 today to Vegas, and they came all the way back and beat them. The Jags don't have a good record, but they got a good nucleus to build around that they're high on in the future, and there is a lot of optimism down there in Jacksonville. You look at a team like the Atlanta Falcons, who are second place in the NFC South right now with a 4-5 record. The only reason they ain't leading it is because the Bucs aren't doing so well right now either. The Falcons, aside from the Bengals game, they've been in every one of their games this year. Same story with Jacksonville. I think there's not been one game that the Jags have not been in this year. You look at the Detroit Lions. They had 2 bad games against New England and Dallas, but the Lions have remained very competitive this year. They pulled off a W against Green Bay today. I mean, look, those are teams that the Pittsburgh Steelers should be like. They should be like the Jags. They should be like the Lions. Out of context, that sounds really bad out of context, I know. But when you put in to how they are right now, it's a rebuilding team. It's a team that's trying to find an identity, and it's a team that's trying to remain competitive. That's what they should be doing. They shouldn't be going out there trying not to win every single game just because it benefits our draft capital. Just because you tank and just because you try to lose a game on purpose, it doesn't mean that you're automatically going to get the best player in the league or the best player in college rather. Tanking is so flawed. How many times have we seen teams tank to get a top 3 pick in the draft, and then that top 3 pick doesn't pan out? It's happened more often than you think. So that's why I really personally don't believe that the Steelers should be tanking. I believe that, yes, it is a rebuilding year, but this team should remain competitive. But that doesn't excuse them going out there most Sundays or the occasional Monday night games that we get and just putting in zero effort. Because I can live, okay, I can deal with losing. That's what a lot of you people don't understand. I can deal with losing. Being a Pittsburgh sports fan, yes, it's true. I've seen a lot of winning with the Steelers and the Pens. But I have also seen a lot of losing, primarily with the Pirates, but I've seen some bad Steeler teams. I've seen some bad Pens teams. I can deal with losing. What I will not tolerate is no effort. And that's what the Steelers were doing first half of the schedule. And now, but at least you had a little bit of an excuse for it, like I said, because you were playing tough teams. You were playing Super Bowl contenders and teams that are fighting to be in the playoffs. There's zero excuse now. Your schedule's starting to get a little lighter. And like I said, the toughest opponent that you face the rest of the way are the Baltimore Ravens twice. So, tanking is flawed. I don't believe in tanking. I don't think that this team should be tanking because we have more than enough talent to be competitive on this team. I still believe it. Do I think it's enough for us to have a season to be over 500? No, I think we dug ourselves into too much of a hole to get out of that. But I do think that looking at the schedule, I think we can win about maybe 4. We can win at least 3, 4, maybe even 5 games the rest of the way. Finish about 7 wins. Have, 10 through 15 pick in the draft, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, that's just my personal opinion. This team isn't tanking, but it is rebuilding. Let me know what you think down below. Still Sermon checking on out for the night. May God be with you all.